7 years ago, my family threw me out onto the street, abandoning me completely because my sister, Hannah, blamed me for her divorce. The betrayal felt like a knife to the gut, but what I didn't know then was that she was the real monster, and years later, an anonymous email would expose her lies and change everything. I was just 22 then, fresh out of college, barely earning enough to support myself, let alone rent an apartment. The blow was sudden, brutal, leaving me no time to prepare, mentally or financially. And the architect of my ruin? My older sister, Hannah. We'd never been particularly close, a significant age gap keeping us distant. Hannah, then 37, had married her boyfriend, Pete, when she was 27. 3 years into their marriage, everything exploded. Hannah came home one day, mascara streaking down her face, screaming through hysterical tears that she was divorcing Pete because he'd been cheating on her for 6 long months. And then, without a shred of hesitation, she threw me straight under the bus. See, I'd been living with my parents after college, trying to save up before finding my own place. They were fine with it, until that day. Hannah claimed Pete had been having an affair with my friend, Emily. Emily was a sweet woman, 28 at the time, who Pete, a certified dietitian, had been helping with weight gain. I'd made the introduction, thinking nothing of it, just two good people who might benefit from knowing each other. Now, Hannah was declaring Emily the other woman. I was absolutely floored. Emily and I weren't best friends, but I knew her. She was a genuinely good person, not someone who'd ever get involved with a married man. And Pete? This was so utterly out of character for him. He'd always been head over heels for Hannah, talking about her with stars in his eyes. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Cheating? Pete? It just didn't compute. I had my serious doubts, but my parents? They swallowed Hannah's story whole. Instantly. No questions asked. No proof demanded. Just blind, unwavering belief in their precious daughter. I suppose I can't blame them for choosing their child over their son-in-law, regardless of the truth. But what I couldn't understand, what tore me apart, was why they so readily kicked me out. Hannah just stormed in, threw a theatrical tantrum, and somehow, in that whirlwind of manufactured drama, convinced my parents to throw me out. Her logic? I introduced Emily to Pete, therefore I was responsible for ruining her marriage. And my parents, they just agreed. I was devastated. I pleaded, I begged, I tried to make them see sense, but they wouldn't listen. Their faces were cold, unmoving. Leave, they said. Or we'll force you out. Just like that. In a single day, I lost my family, my home, and had absolutely nowhere to go. I ended up on the sidewalk, my meager belongings piled around me, sobbing uncontrollably for what felt like an eternity. The sheer injustice, the raw pain of betrayal, it was suffocating. Eventually, I pulled myself together enough to seek refuge at a friend's place. For days, I called them, desperate, but I was met with silence. My friend, bless his heart, let me crash at his place until I could get on my feet. My parents, meanwhile, had solidified their twisted narrative. I was guilty, I was responsible. Before kicking me out, it even said they were disgusted by me. Disgusted. As if I was the one who cheated. They blocked my number. When I tried to visit, my own mother threatened to call the police. That's when it truly sank in, they meant it. They actually blamed me. And in a dark corner of my mind, I wasn't entirely surprised. Hannah had always been the golden child, the favorite. I was the unplanned second, always an afterthought, always sidelined. I never cared much for it growing up, but I never imagined it would lead to this. Looking back, maybe I should have seen the pattern, but who could predict such a cold, calculated betrayal? For weeks, I tried to piece things together. My family had completely cut me off. Pete, surprisingly, had blocked me too, and both he and Hannah had moved out of their shared home, back to their respective parents. Everyone involved was unreachable. My last resort for the truth was Emily. We weren't close, but I had to try. When I finally met her, I explained the madness. She listened, then vehemently denied everything. Her story was clear, she'd met Pete only a few times, strictly professionally. There was nothing, absolutely nothing, going on. She even showed me pictures of her long-term boyfriend, whom she was about to marry. Emily's sincerity, her straightforward answers, resonated. I had no concrete proof, no smoking gun, but deep down, I knew Hannah had lied. She was hiding the real reason for her divorce. But without proof, I couldn't go back to my family. I couldn't even think about going back without it. Back then, I desperately missed them. I missed the life I'd lost. But as the months turned into years, the raw ache slowly dulled. I found my own apartment, threw myself into my job, using work as a lifeline, a distraction, and, of course, a way to pay the bills. It was better than wallowing in depression. I was hurting deeply, but I had no choice. I had to go on, with or without my family's support. Years passed, and I built a new life, a good life. I moved into a bigger apartment, found love, and just a week ago, I got engaged to my amazing girlfriend, Liza. And if you're finding this story as unbelievable as I did living through it, please hit that subscribe button. There are always more wild tales unfolding right here. Then, a few days after our engagement post went public on Liza's Facebook, an email landed in my inbox. Out of nowhere. It wasn't just an email, it was a revelation. It contained the entire, horrifying truth of Hannah's divorce, complete with undeniable proof. Liza, a doctor, had met Pete at a seminar years ago and added him on Facebook. And now, he'd seen our engagement. It truly is a small world, and for once, I was grateful for it. Pete's email was anonymous, he explained later, because he felt weird. He didn't want to seem like a sore loser or someone stuck in the past, especially since he'd been the one to block me. But what he revealed, I couldn't believe my eyes. The full, unvarnished story, 7 years in the making. Hannah had been the one cheating on him, not the other way around. My sister, the victim, was actually the perpetrator. And here's the kicker, she was cheating on Pete with my friend, Frank, a cashier I knew from the grocery store near her house. I never would have connected them. They must have kept it incredibly secret. But Pete found out. And when he confronted Hannah, she spun a new web of lies, blaming me again. She claimed I introduced her to Frank, told her he needed help with his aspiring singing career, and that I was even in on it, helping them hide their affair. It was all completely fabricated. I had no idea they even knew each other, let alone were having an affair. Pete was furious when he discovered the truth. He blocked our entire family, a move he now admits was impulsive, but he was consumed by rage. The email itself was impersonal, a cold collection of facts, but the proof attached? It was damning. Screenshots of emails between Hannah and Frank. Love confessions. Plans for secret meetings. Discussions about how easy it was to fool Pete. She'd even signed them with her middle name, a detail only a few people knew. I had her, dead to rights. My gut told me Pete was the sender. I scoured Liza's Facebook friends list until I found him. We met a few days later, and he filled in the blanks. He'd actually learned about Hannah's fabricated story from Emily herself, who he'd run into years prior. Emily, bless her heart, had asked him about the divorce, and the pieces started to click for him. I instantly regretted telling Emily to keep my side of the story secret back then. If only I hadn't, Pete would have known the truth ages ago, and my innocence would have been proven much sooner. Pete confessed he wanted to tell me earlier but felt too awkward. I swear, if he wasn't so easily embarrassed, my life would have been much easier. But I forgave him. I needed his help to absolutely destroy my sister, and I knew he'd be on board. Hannah had clearly lied to our parents for financial support during her divorce, throwing me under the bus as a twisted form of insurance, knowing a single conversation with Emily would expose her. I couldn't comprehend such selfishness, such calculated cruelty from my own flesh and blood. She'd never bothered to set the record straight, allowing our parents to just lap up her pathetic lies. She knew if the truth about her cheating came out, she'd be in serious trouble, financially and with our parents. She couldn't risk that. Well, too bad. The truth was out now. And I was going to use it to ruin her life, just like she'd ruined mine all those years ago. I hadn't visited my family in 7 years, so I wasn't sure if they even lived in the same house. But as luck would have it, they hadn't moved. An old neighbor confirmed it, and even better, Hannah was still living with them. Not surprising, honestly. She'd always been a couch potato, preferring to let our aging parents cater to her every whim. 2 days ago, Pete and I showed up without warning. My mom opened the door, her eyes wide with shock. We didn't give her a chance to react, just walked straight in. My dad and Hannah were in the living room. For a split second, it looked like a happy family reunion. But their faces soured instantly. My dad, without missing a beat, started threatening to call the cops if we didn't get out. I stood my ground. "You're free to call whoever you want," I told him, my voice steady, "but only after you've read these documents." My parents looked utterly confused. Hannah, however, went pale. She looked like she was about to be sick, mumbling an excuse about going to her room. I knew she was trying to escape, but it was pointless. Pete took over, laying out the divorce papers, the damning screenshots of Hannah and Frank's emails. I explained everything, the real story, the elaborate lies. Pete added one last detail, a final twist of the knife. Hannah had been forced to give up our grandmother's diamond ring, a precious family heirloom, in the settlement because she couldn't afford to pay him cash. She'd had to sell it. My parents were already horrified, but that news was the final, devastating blow. We watched the drama unfold. My dad, his face a mask of rage and disbelief, demanded an explanation from Hannah. Even then, surrounded by irrefutable evidence, she still tried to lie, to cover up her deceit. But it was over. My dad snapped. He packed her bags, handed them to her, and told us all to get the hell out. I didn't need to be told twice. Pete and I walked out, leaving my sister behind, begging and pleading with our parents to let her back in. Just like I had, all those years ago. This wasn't just justice. This was karma. And I couldn't have been happier. It's only been a few days since that explosive confrontation, but the chaos hasn't stopped. Hannah, somehow, found my address and showed up at my place, pounding on my door, demanding I fix things with our parents. Me. I calmly told her she ruined my life, and I simply returned the favor. We were fair and square. She lost it, sobbing hysterically, calling me a monster. I just shut the door, put on my headphones, and let Liza work in peace. She eventually left, but not before scrawling "revengeful monster" on my door with a marker. She thinks I'm the villain. But honestly, I don't feel an ounce of remorse. I simply gave her a taste of her own medicine, except I used the truth, while she relied on vicious lies. And the drama didn't stop there. Hannah kept calling, again and again, through friends, desperate for sympathy. I had to threaten her with the police to get her to stop. She's a school teacher, but apparently, suddenly having to pay for her own rent and groceries is just too much to bear. My heart remains cold. Then there are my parents. They found my engagement post on Facebook and suddenly want back into my life. They want to attend my wedding. No apologies, no acknowledgement of their cruelty, just an expectation that I'd welcome them with open arms. Liza and I actually had a good laugh reading their delusional texts. It's pathetic, really. Hannah tried again yesterday, throwing herself across the hood of my car as I tried to leave for work. I didn't hesitate this time. I called the police. They took her away, screaming and crying, still trying to play the victim. My parents, predictably, bailed her out. Then they sent me another lengthy text about how I was being too harsh for an honest mistake they made almost a decade ago. An honest mistake? They knew what they were doing when they threw me onto the street. They knew how cruel they were. And now that I can return the favor, I see no reason to be forgiving or kind. I texted them back, a simple, decisive message: "You lost any right to tell me what I can or cannot do 7 years ago. Stop deluding yourselves." I haven't blocked them yet, but I will. Soon. And that, I thought, would be the end of it. But they came back. Again. Just today, I got back from work to another ridiculously long message. Liza and I read it together, laughing at the sheer absurdity. They actually took Hannah back in. And now, they expect Liza and I to come over for dinner, to sort out our differences before the wedding. Bold of them to assume they'd even be invited to my wedding. I sent my final reply. I told them I wasn't interested in any of their invitations, that I was perfectly happy living without them, just as I had for the past 7 years. They'd shown me I was better off alone, and for that, I was eternally grateful. I didn't need them, and I certainly didn't want their so-called forgiveness. They could continue playing happy family with Hannah, because I was done. With that last text, I blocked them. All of them. For good. I don't even want their pathetic attempts at contact, not even for a laugh. I'm out. I'm sure they'll try to find another way to reach me, but too bad for them. Liza is my family now, and she's all I need. My parents and my sister have proven themselves incapable of looking beyond their own selfish desires, and I highly doubt they ever will. So, the next time they try to reach out, they won't be speaking to me. They'll be speaking to my lawyer. That's a promise I intend to keep. This whole ordeal has been a whirlwind of emotion, from betrayal to ultimate vindication. I still can't quite believe the depths my own family sank to. What do you think? Was I wrong to finally give my sister a taste of her own cruel medicine? And how would you handle family like this?